"I just disappeared." Those 3 words might be the most honest thing an Oscar nominee has said in years, but for Barry Keoghan, they weren't a career move, they were a survival tactic. For the last 72 hours, the internet has been scrambling to process an interview that feels like a post-mortem on one of the most obsessive celebrity eras of the 2020s. We aren't just talking about a breakup or a please, please, please music video cameo anymore. We are looking at the return of an actor who spent over a year as a ghost because he realized that in the court of public opinion, a lie travels around the world before the truth can even get its shoes on. On April 28, 2026, Barry Keoghan finally sat down on the Friends Keep Secrets podcast to explain why he chose to delete his existence from our feeds, and the reality he described as far darker than any fan fiction theory about why he and Sabrina Carpenter called it quits. The factual recap of Barry's missing year centers on a relentless narrative of infidelity that surfaced in late 2024. Following his split from Sabrina, a wave of blind items and influencer TikToks suggested that he had been unfaithful with a high-profile content creator. The newest development is Barry's raw, unfiltered confirmation that he didn't just take a break, he fled. He deactivated his social media and stopped attending events not because he was guilty, but because he was exhausted. He explained that a specific girl made a video fueling these cheating claims, only to later admit she made the whole thing up. But by the time the apology dropped, the damage was permanent. Barry revealed that he sat in silence while millions of people dragged his character, his parenting, and even his physical features, choosing to disappear rather than engage with a vile machine that was never interested in his side of the story. Public reaction to this revelation has been a jarring mixture of "we owe him an apology" and continued skepticism. Viral clips from the podcast have been shared millions of times, particularly the moment where Barry describes the hatred he receives simply for looking like this. The social media debate is currently focused on the retraction gap, the phenomenon where a lie gets 100 million views, but the correction only gets 10,000. On X and TikTok, fans are dissecting the influencer culture that allowed these rumors to fester. For context, we remember how influencer Brecky Hill's vague reposts in late 2024 were taken as confirmation of an affair, leading to a year-long harassment campaign against Keoghan. Now that he has finally said the words "it's not true," the discourse has shifted toward how easily a digital mob can be weaponized against an actor who doesn't fit the traditional Hollywood heartthrob mold. This situation escalated because it highlights the cost of authenticity. For context, Barry Keoghan has always been an outlier, an intense, unconventional talent who doesn't play the typical PR game. When he entered a relationship with one of the biggest pop stars on the planet, he was thrust into a fandom ecosystem that demands total transparency and perfect behavior. This says everything about influencer culture in 2026. We have reached a point where vague posting is considered evidence and a hunch is considered a fact. It affects their reputations by creating a permanent digital stain. Even with this denial, Barry admits he feels amplified by the public eye in a way that feels predatory. For Sabrina, who has remained silent on the rumors, the situation reinforces her privacy-first brand, but for Barry, the silence was interpreted as a confession of guilt. Let's talk about the disappearance strategy from an analytical standpoint. Why did it backfire? Because in the 2020s, silence is viewed as an admission. The analysis of Barry's choice to deactivate shows that while it protected his peace, it allowed the cheating narrative to grow in a vacuum. It's information displacement. When the primary subject stops providing data, the public starts inventing it. By the time he returned to the podcast this week, the villain label was so deeply etched into his search results that he had to use words like disgusting and inhumane to describe the commentary he's lived with for the last 18 months. Maintain a conversational tone, but let's look at the physical harassment aspect. It's a punchy, uncomfortable reality. Short, punchy sentences in the podcast transcript show Barry's vulnerability. Slower, more analytical tone during the breakdown of his interaction with Benny Blanco reveals a shared bond over being torn apart online for their appearance. This perfectly mirrors the unconventional star struggle. If you don't look like a Disney prince, the internet is significantly less likely to give you the benefit of the doubt when a scandal breaks. The retrospective on his Saltburn fame shows that the very thing that made him a star, his unique, otherworldly vibe, is the same thing the internet used to other him once the cheating rumor started. We have to clearly separate the confirmed details from the online theories. It is a confirmed fact that Barry Keoghan denied the cheating rumors on April 28, 2026. It is a confirmed fact that he deactivated his Instagram in December 2025, citing mental health and family protection. It is a confirmed fact that the influencer who fueled the rumors retracted her claims. The online theories, however, are speculating that the split from Sabrina was actually mutual and professional, and that the cheating was a narrative pushed by third parties to boost engagement. Fans are theorizing that Sabrina's upcoming album, rumored for late 2026, will finally address the real reason for the split, leading many to wonder if Barry's podcast appearance was a preemptive strike to set his side of the story before the lyrics drop. There is also a viral theory that his disappearance was actually a requirement for a high-stakes, method acting role he's been filming in secret. Plus, the analytical tone of the retraction paradox is the most sobering part of this narrative. Slower, more thoughtful threads on Letterboxd and industry blogs are discussing how we treat celebrity downfalls as entertainment. If a woman makes a video claiming an affair, she gets the clout. When she admits she lied, the public has already moved on to the next villain. Barry Keoghan is essentially the first major test case for an actor who tried to use total silence to combat a total lie. His return proves that silence doesn't kill a rumor, it just gives it a home. This leads us to a bigger industry question. Should actors be required to verify their personal lives to protect their professional careers? If Barry's salt bin momentum was stalled by these rumors, which many industry insiders suggest it was, then a fake TikTok has more power over a career than an Oscar nomination. It's a terrifying precedent for any artist who values their privacy. The upcoming response possibility is a social media return. Now that he has cleared the air, many expect Barry to reactivate his accounts to promote his upcoming projects like the Peaky Blinders film. It would be the final step in his reemergence. However, given the hatred he described, he might remain a minimalist user, only appearing when work requires it. The future impact of this will be seen in how stan communities interact with their idol's partners. The apology to Barry Keoghan trend is already gaining steam, but it serves as a reminder of how quickly we can vandalize a person's reputation based on a 15-second clip from an influencer with nothing to lose. The unresolved tension is the Sabrina factor. While Barry has spoken, Sabrina Carpenter has notably stayed out of the fray. Until she acknowledges the narrative or explicitly confirms his version of events, a segment of the internet will continue to treat the nonsense singer's lyrics as the only truth that matters. Ultimately, Barry Keoghan disappearing wasn't a mystery to be solved, it was a boundary to be respected. By the time he walked into that podcast studio this week, he wasn't looking for fans. He was looking for humanity. He didn't just deny a cheating rumor, he exposed a digital culture that would rather believe a viral lie than a quiet truth. He moonwalked out of the spotlight to protect his son and his sanity, and in doing so, he reminded us that just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean they aren't feeling every single hit. Do you think a celebrity deactivating their social media is an effective way to handle a scandal, or does the silence only make the digital fire burn hotter in 2026? Let's talk about it in the comments.